Your Worship and City Council, this is going to sound a bit like a scolding, but it's only because I care enough to say something again. I was here recently at the Executive Committee and heard more people voice concerns about your plan to restrict private use of e-scooters in Regina than I heard residents supporting the idea. Yet, a small majority of councillors voted down Councillor Mancinelli's effort to permit private e-scooters. Councillor Hawkins said he completely agreed with the logic, but not until 2024. Presumably, Reginans are a bit slow, and need yet another year to adapt to the fact that kick scooters can have electric motors on them. I don't think it's a good reason to use up the council's and administration's time a year hence to undo a limitation that could result in needlessly consuming police resources. Why hassle some people scooting around Regina on their own e-scooters or one-wheels, segways, hoverboards, electric skateboards, or electric unicycles, even though there are other people who pay rents for the same privilege? There are even past and current members of council who've used these fun devices in our city and abroad, so it's really absurd to be banning them primarily so you can treat Regina as a monopolistic laboratory to collect untainted data. If only that fastidiousness was employed in studying how to prevent more carnage wrought by drivers every darn day. What is your motivation in creating so much paperwork over something so simple and important? Perhaps one could assume that by constructing a more complex bylaw than the one you made for regulating motor vehicles like Ubers, that your effort is designed to limit how many people use zero-emission transportation options. Why would you do that, though, in contravention of your energy and sustainability framework? I could surmise that you might see e-scooters that cost only 2 pennies to recharge as a viable competitor with automobiles for much of the year, and those automobiles cost 80 times that much to fill with only 1 liter of gasoline. They might compete with your beloved oil refinery or your possible financial interests in automobile repair or sales in your other careers. Maybe they'd undermine your investments in stocks or banks that might devalue if people stopped using so much oil. I'm sure anyone with a conflict of interest would recuse themselves from a vote if there were any doubts about their motivation in limiting cleaner transportation options. Council has the ability to pass bylaws, so when something new arrives, it might be this council's instinct to pass a meaty new bylaw with shiny bells and data collection whistles. Have you heard the expression that when all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail? Maybe the best idea is to put down the hammer, stop reinventing the wheel, and treat e-scooters exactly like e-bikes. They're close cousins. They only differ by missing pedals and a seat. Councillor Hawkins may be a fan of big government creating meaty bylaws that need tweaking next year to ensure more paperwork for City Hall to put through, but there is a better way today. Give Reginans some credit, please, and give them an e-scooter e-bike rebate too. There would not be pandemonium if everyone went out and bought an electric kick scooter tomorrow. You could give $500 rebates to the first 5,000 residents buying them because you'd have a lot less damage to your streets from those vehicles than from the heavy cars and trucks many of you favor and use. I guarantee you that there will never be an e-scooter rider crash through a storefront, knock down a street sign, or careen into a house and cause tens of thousands of dollars in property damage from careless or reckless use. You can't say the same for drivers of cars. You've taken your eye off the ball. Our devotion to ecology has resulted in a system of over 100 parks. Our highly livable city needs to be connected in a way that we can use kick scooters, along with our kids, to get between those parks as easily as if we wanted to hop into an F-150 to go cruising down Albert Street. In my remaining time, I'd like to remind you that we're in a climate crisis, and e-scooters produce no emissions in Regina since they don't have a tailpipe. Think of it this way. Pretend we know it's going to flood, so someone invents the sandbag to mitigate the damage. Being a new invention, City Council wants to regulate sandbags and limit them to 500 units for at least a year, just to be safe. You also have to rent them. You can't make your own, just in case someone leaves their sandbags lying around carelessly or hits someone with a sandbag. Congrats. Regina is now safe from the scourge of sandbags, but it's still a bit vulnerable to the flood. You've taken your eye off the ball.